Overview of what you'll need to know before spring ends. This presentation will get you up to speed as fast as possible to know your role in our secondary and how we want you to make plays. Identifying receivers. In any formation, you'll be presented with up to 5 receiving threats. You'll play one side of the field. Essentially, you can make your job easier by cutting the formation in half to identify the threats to your side. We count from outside in. So we'll have 1, 2, 3 receivers to one side, 1, 2 receivers to the other side. By identifying formation families. First up is a pro split, which is 2-by-1 formation. 2-by-1 always gives us 2 backs. This is essentially a running formation. You always count 1, 2 to the strong side, 1 split receiver, and 2 in the backfield. And you'll see these clips. We have 1 split receiver, 1, 2 to the strong side, and 2 in the back. Lot in our district is 2-by-2, or 2-by-2 always gives us 1 back. The third receiver is always going to be in the backfield. We count 1, 2 to one side, 1, 2 to the other, leaving a remaining back in the backfield. You'll see these. It could be double tight, 2 tight ends, or 2 split receivers. To worry about is 3-by-1, or otherwise known as trips. This is also 1 back formation. We have 1 split receiver and 3 receivers to one side. 1, 2, 3 plus 1 split receiver and 1 remaining back. Defend the field. As a deep third defender, we're not concerned with anything less than 12 yards from the line of scrimmage. We are playing deep third of the field. The high school hashes essentially cut the field into thirds already, which divvies up the field to 17-yard widths for each player. Cover 3 is meant to protect the middle of the field with the free safety, closing that hole. 3 support the free safety inside out, defending the hashes to the sidelines. We essentially are going to break this down from the hashes to the top of the numbers. The top of the numbers on the field is 9 yards from the sideline. So you essentially are only going to be defending 10 yards width on the field. Receiving threats. Corners will use what we call the divider rule. The divider is a landmark that exists on the field at 1 yard inside of the top of the numbers. Again, the top of the numbers are 9 yards from the sideline. This helps distinguish how a corner needs to align and the number 1 receiving threat in relation to the position of the free safety. Can the free safety help out or not? Than it sounds. If we establish our landmark divider on the field at 10 yards from the sideline, if the number 1 receiver aligns outside this divider, the corner should align inside. Being so far outside, there's no way for the free safety to be able to help out with a receiver threat that far outside. Using our divider rule, if the number 1 receiver aligns inside the divider, the corner will align outside because free safety has leverage on the number 1 receiver being so far inside the formation. To identify receiving threats, how to align, the next thing we need to cover is route combinations. Understand, routes can only be one of 3 things. As the receiver stems, they're either going to go inside, vertical, or outside. If number 1 receiver continues to press vertically after 12 yards and he continues to go deep, he's obviously a threat to the deep third. He's yours. Receivers to a side. If both receivers continue to press vertically after 12 yards, they're both threatening the deep third defenders. Vertically and 2 stays shallow, goes inside or outside, number 1 is the deep threat. If number 1 stays shallow and number 2 goes vertical, number 2 is the deep third threat. Cover is 4 verticals out of 2-by-2 formation. This will kill us in cover 3 if we don't handle it correctly. Here you'll see the corner should be reading number 2 receiver to the number 1 receiver. Free safety has 2 inside vertical threats, so he must match both inside verticals. Has leverage inside on the number 1 receiver. He's essentially cut off from the throw. This leaves the quarterback. The only other option is number 2 top side up the seam. This is who the quarterback should be robbing after he sees the quarterback shoulders turning upfield. Again, except look at the wild card here. There's nobody in the backfield. This is 3-by-2 formation, 5 wide. Free safety should respect a first inside vertical receiver, so it's going to be 2 at the top, 3 at the bottom. Corners should match 1 and 2 respectively, as they normally would. In this clip, you'll see as the corner goes downfield, he has inside leverage on the first receiver, which is where this quarterback wants to go. We have the corner cutting the receiver off from the ball. We should be making a play on this ball. 4 vertical package, the smash concept, or shallow high, features number 2 going vertical and number 1 staying shallow. Here, the corner should be reading 2 to 1. The free safety should be reading inside vertical threat, which is both number 2. The corner should be taking 3 steps. He'll see number 2 continues to go vertical. Number 1 stays shallow, so he shouldn't matter. He should be playing the first deep threat. Free safety, thankfully, here plays number 2 vertically to the quarterback's shoulder and opens up to that seam throw and grabs the pick here. Again here, don't make the mistake of this corner. Don't fixate on the number 1 receiver. Always read 2 to 1. How we want this to be played correctly. Again, 2x2 smash concept. You notice the top side corner is reading 2 to 1. Free safety's playing both inside vertical threats. At the snap, corner can match both number 2 vertically and stay on top of number 1 shallow. Corner sees that number 2 continues to go vertical, so he breaks and looks to jump number 2 vertical. You notice he has help from the inside free safety. Corner can now help out on the continued vertical route or a dropout or corner route by number 2. Number 1 is shallow, so the outside linebacker should be responsible for the curl to flat area. Defensive backs play this correctly. The quarterback narrowly avoids a sack and essentially has to eat the ball trying to get it to the flat. We'll cover the curls concept. This is also just like a hitch concept. Here we'll see matching curls out of a 2x1 formation where we're only going to have 3 receiving threats. 2 formation, so again, the corner's reading 2 to 1, free safety's reading first inside vertical threat. On this play, number 2 to the bottom is not going to run a route. Free safety can essentially only concentrate on the top side number 2 since both number 1s are covered over the top by the corner. See the quarterback shoulders turn to the top side of the formation, leaving only number 1 and number 2 top side as actual receiving threats. With no other middle of the field threat, the free safety should be jumping number 2 in the hole. You see here he doesn't, leading to a big gain. We didn't want it played. Now we'll show you how we do want it played. So again, 2x2 formation, corners reading 2 to 1, free safety reading both inside vertical threats, number 2. There's only going to be 3 routes run here. Free safety should be looking 2x2. Number 2 top side eliminates himself, so now there's only number 2 to the bottom. He should be jumping this as there's no other threat to the inside middle of the field. Concept again, this is almost a hitch package. How it relates to the corner. Again, 2x2, we're reading 2 to 1, 2 to 2 for the free safety. Here, watch the bottom corner here. This takes a perfect step, 3 quick slide steps as he matches the number 1 to number 2. He'll see number 2 stays shallow, number 1 stays shallow. If both are shallow, he sees the quarterback's shoulders turn to him. He can jump number 1, and watch how this plays out. This is exactly how we want to leverage the receivers and make a play on the ball. Is pretty common in 2x2. It's shallow or the NCAA concept. This is a shallow dig concept with a post into the dig. 2x2, corner should be reading 2 to 1, free safety should be reading 2 to 2. And as you'll see, this has this concept developed. You have a shallow by number 2, a dig by number 2 topside, a go route by number 1 topside, and a post by number 1 backside. To be mindful of in zone coverage, we're not covering anything shallower than 5 yards. So this shallow here really shouldn't be anything we need to worry about. Goes to his first read, which is the post at the bottom of your screen. He sees the corner has this post out leveraged by being a high shoulder and over the top. He has to go to his second read, which is shallow. He sees that's full of linebackers, so he goes to his third read, which is the dig, breaks inside at 10 yards. Remember, 12 and under is the linebacker's responsibility. Free safety should be guarding the middle of the field. First middle of the field threat is the backside post, which is the bottom of the screen. He should be knocking the snot out of that X receiver coming inside.